Okay, Jason, thanks for being here. I have a question for you.
Okay.
Out of all the places that you've traveled, what was your favorite place that you've traveled and why?
It'd be Bowling Green, Ohio. I mean, that's probably the easiest question I've been asked in a very long time. So it's very good to be here with you today.
Okay.
No, I would, after Bowling Green, if we're going to second and third place, it would probably be either South Africa was neat. That was a lot of fun. I had a free afternoon. They're like, hey, you want to go in the safari park? And we're like, yeah, sure. So we, went in there and you drive in and it says, don't get out of your car. Because I guess some tourist did. It took a picture of some, and a lion just ate him right there. So that was fun. And then let's see, other Brazil was awesome. Brazil, I've been able to go to 6 continents, and so everywhere from Tasmania to England and everywhere in between. But it's been an awesome part of the ministry.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Amazing.
Sweet.
Right,
let's go. If I say it wrong, yell at me. Jason Evert, right?
You got it.
Perfect. And before we kind of introduce him, let's first talk about the Awaken Nation. So if you are loving what you hear here at Awaken Catholic, we invite you to become part of Awaken Nation. So you can do that. You can join by as little as a cup of coffee or as much as you want to give. But this is kind of what keeps us going. So if you are loving what you hear here, whether it be on QuaranTEEN or any of our episodes, we really highly suggest you follow the link on the screen. And if you haven't done this yet, you absolutely need to. You need to download the Awaken Catholic app. This is a really cool place for you to connect with other Catholics along with the show hosts here. So actually some of our ideas for our show here at QuaranTEEN, because there's only 3 brains going into this, come from the teens because we run out. So if you are a teen that's in there or a parent and we've not covered a topic, that is where you want to go to give us a heads up that we need to talk about that.
And today's episode is brought to you by Casa Bella Cleaning Service. Casa Bella is a one-stop shop for all things clean. If you live in the Northwest Ohio area, Casa Bella is the ideal option to keep your residence, commercial, or new construction clean. Casa Bella is also one of the only services in Northwest Ohio that provides deep and professional carpet cleaning. Most importantly, right now during the pandemic, keeping your home and offices clean and COVID-19 free is of the utmost importance, and it happens to be a specialty of Casa Bella. That includes doorknobs, light switches, surfaces, ATMs, everything. Get the peace of mind of knowing your home or commercial environment is professionally clean by visiting casabellacleaning.info today.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. So Jason has been all around the world with a really positive and awesome message. And actually, I can't remember what conference it was, but our youth group was just at one. It might have been March for Life last year.
Not sure.
I don't remember. But we
I don't know where you guys been.
We heard a really good talk from Jason. And in today's world, I think it's so important. So he focuses a lot on chastity. And today we're going to talk about that horrible P word that like makes parents just cringe. I've watched it happen. But pornography. And it's kind of crazy how prevalent it is and how normalized it is in our world. So I kind of have a question for you. Yeah. Why do we have to be concerned about pornography?
Because we should be concerned about love. And lust is the enemy of love. And people think that lust means sexual desire, sexual attraction, or passion. That's not lust. Lust is the reduction of the human person to their sexual value. And that's what porn does. And so it robs us of our capacity to authentically love someone else. Because if I can't even say no to my sexual impulses, my yes means nothing. And so it's about human love. To the extent we care about love and the dignity of men and women, to that extent should we be passionate about eradicating porn.
That was really good.
That was really good.
You can tell he's like really good at this.
You can tell he's used to talking about this.
That was awesome. No, and it's funny because it's something that's really not talked about. Like I had a confirmation retreat. It was my last confirmation retreat, and a parent, we talked about pornography in one of the talks, and literally I'm in the back of the room and all the parents like looked at each other like, I can't believe they're like saying these words right now. What are you talking about? And it's really like there's proof that it's getting kids are getting exposed younger and younger, which is so scary. And I think it's something that like we what I love is that Jason's not afraid to talk about that, and he travels. You heard he's gone to South Africa and everywhere else. He travels the world telling us about it because it's so important, and it really is an addiction, which I think people also don't talk about.
Yeah. What's something that got you so into talking about it, like so passionate in traveling, making your life about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I know the effects firsthand because I kind of grew up with this junk.
Right.
I mean, your friends had it, your buddies had it. One guy in my high school passed out porn from his locker to anyone who would vote for him as senior class vice president. He's in the hallway, vote for Travis. I don't know if he's in Congress now or where, but we would just kind of laugh it off. But I mean, for years and years, just looking at this stuff, just getting, effeminized by it. And what I mean by that, Aquinas says that effeminacy is when a man refuses to let go of what's pleasurable to do what's arduous and difficult. And if that's what effeminacy is, porn has emasculated a globe full of men. And it's not that it's just a male problem,
right?
But our capacity to love, it just becomes about me and the satisfaction of my immediate needs. And then when real love comes and that opportunity happens, you don't know what to do with it. And I met one high school boy, and he's like, I go home from school on Friday and I watch 12 hours of porn on Saturday, and then I watch 12 hours on Sunday. He said, it disgusts me. I don't really enjoy it anymore, but I don't know how to live without it. Wow. And then imagine he tries to date a girl. I mean, it's going to be a train wreck.
Yeah.
And, one thing I saw is most depressing thing is that I saw an interview with a woman who was a nurse who helps kids who are survivors of sexual abuse. And she said the number one perpetrator of sexual abuse against kids that they're seeing right now is not some live-in boyfriend or some perverted guy down the street trying to give you candy out of a car. They said, no, it's 11 to 15-year-old boys who've been exposed to porn.
Wow.
Because they see it on their phone. Then their little sister has a slumber party with an 8-year-old cousin, and the parents aren't around. Things happen, never gets reported, and that poor girl carries that stuff into adulthood, never having addressed what happened out of fear of rupturing the whole family. Yeah. And so it's this pandemic beast that has got to be slain if we're going to be free to love.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how much it's normalized, and then because it's normalized, so many people get into it but don't understand the repercussions until after the fact. There's a brain stimulation that happens that really affects these people, and they don't really understand it until they're right in the middle of it.
Oh yeah, because the brain, the neuroplasticity of the brain, they found it actually sculpts the structure of your brain to essentially expect every woman to live up to some fantasy of a disposable supermodel. Yeah. And then real life hits, and then it's like, well, my wife's the problem, and you're too stingy, and you're too this, and too demanding, and you've got emotions and needs and feelings, and I don't want to have to deal with all that. But it's just because the porn has just robbed him of the ability to love her rightly, but he doesn't want to address that blame, so he just shifts it over to her and makes her feel like she's an uptight, puritanical, neurotic woman because she cares about the fact that he's sexually betraying her by going to other women for satisfaction.
It's so temporary too. Yeah. Porn is such a temporary fix for whatever you're going through, whether it be isolation, depression, things like that. And when you fall into that and seek, you don't really seek help. You just go to this for this temporary getaway. It just makes it.
Yeah, one acronym we usually point out to the kids to look at where their triggers are coming is BLAST. Are you bored, lonely, angry, stressed, or tired? Yeah. And if you're running to porn or alcohol or drugs or whatever, when you hit those moments of desolation, it's a real measure of your affective or your emotional maturity. Yeah. And if you get hooked on doing that to deal with your stress, trust me, you're going to have plenty of stress in marriage. You're going to try to play stress in adulthood. And if you kind of remain the emotional age at which you learn to run to these things, instead of be okay, I'm lonely, maybe instead of looking at porn on Instagram, I should connect with my family, or maybe I should call a friend, maybe I should go play some sports. Get to the real solution instead of the false consolations.
And I think it's hard because the whole chastity culture then, I think it's harder and harder for younger girls to understand that because pornography is so rampant everywhere that it makes it just very difficult for young girls to understand what chastity really is.
Yeah, and because there's that image, right, that the guys look at, and so it's almost we have to live up to that in a sense, and oh, that's how I'm supposed to look, that's how I'm supposed to act, that's what I'm supposed to do. In reality, it's
yeah, and you can't compete with the women in porn because the women in porn can't compete with each other. It's not one guy's going to stay faithful to one webpage. It's on to the next because he trained himself in this mental polygamy. But that desire to keep up and be enough sometimes brings the girls into the porn because out of curiosity, okay, now what do I need to look like and what do I need to do? But like, you weren't created to be porn, you were created to be loved. And then they get hooked in the stuff and this isolation of shame, thinking, okay, I'm a freak of nature because I'm a girl and now I struggle with this, but that's a boy problem. And it's just like, no, lust is a human problem. You're not less of a woman because you struggle with it. But they won't even confess it sometimes in years of shame, and it doesn't have to be that way.
So as we kind of wrap up, what is something that if a teenager right now is struggling with pornography or struggling with lust in any way, what is the first step into like kind of figuring that out and moving away from it?
Well, I remember a teen came to my friend and said, look, I've tried this and this. I've tried everything in the world. I've been struggling with porn for years and years, and you're the first one I've ever told. It's like, okay, then clearly you haven't tried everything for the last several years. You're just trying to go Lone Ranger and defeat this dragon. First thing is accountability. Like, you have to talk about this, whether it's to your family and getting covenant eyes put on your devices for internet accountability, a confessor, a spiritual director. It's like if a man's having an affair and the mistress can stay secret, that affair will go on for decades. But the day that is brought to the light and it is brought to the surface, the affair's over. And so the devil wants to have that type of affair with us where we don't bring to the light what's really going on. But once you do, one saint said, a temptation disclosed is half overcome. And so we've got to overcome that, have some accountability. We created a resource called Forged. It's a book for guys. We've got one for girls as well called Uncompromising Purity, on how to break free from this. Not just like spiritually and theologically, but psychologically, neurologically, relationally. And like every day of the book, they get a free video on their phone from me, Father Mike Schmitz, and Matt Fred, and Sister Miriam James. Like every day, something to encourage them to get victory. Because not only is it possible, like, it's necessary. You have to win this. Love's at stake. And what do you want to be, like some 35-year-old porn-addicted dad who's got to slap his laptop shut when his daughter comes in the office? Like, she can't see. Like, nobody wants to be that guy. And so let's win this thing now. And it's possible because Christ is in you because of your baptism.
Do you want to debrief real quick on Chastity Project and just say, where people can find?
Yeah, well, with Chastity Project, our ministry, we've got a website called chastity.com, and there they can get all our books as cheap as $3 a piece or less. Some we sell for like $1.50, and the idea is just get it out there. In fact, we just launched a new website off of our main one called Missionaries of Chastity, that if you want to give away our stuff, just submit your project idea. Hey, I want to give 100 away of those, 500 of these, 200 of these in my youth group. Submit the project. We'll announce it on social media. People will donate to your project, and then we just mail it to you for free. So you don't pay anything. We don't pay anything, but there's a lot of people out there want to spread the message of chastity, but they're not organized, they're not equipped, but we've got all the resources, dozens and dozens of books and CDs. And so chastity.com, you can just click the main banner and it'll take you to Missionaries of Chastity. And then we've got our podcast and all kinds of YouTube stuff, but it's all chastity.com.
That's awesome.
That is so cool.
Well, we are so thankful that you got to be here for a little bit with us before our big event tonight. We recorded that day. The event is over now when this comes out, just so you know.
Don't show up.
But we appreciate it. And if you are a teen, and there are plenty of you, and you don't have to tell us. Sometimes we already know. But if you are struggling with pornography, as Jason says, reach out. Find somebody to start talking to and take those steps. And we hope you guys tune in next week.
This show and all media on Awaken Catholic is made possible by the Awaken Nation and the Hallow app. The Awaken Nation is a community of people like you who support all things Awaken for as cheap as a cup of coffee a week and get access to exclusive content. Learn more by visiting awakencatholic.org/donate. Hallow is the only audio-guided Catholic prayer app focused on contemplative prayer and traditional Catholic meditation such as Lectio Divina, Daily Examen, and the Rosary. We here at Awaken all use Hallow every day and love it. To learn more or give it a try, visit hallow.app/awaken.